What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Living the Dream podcast. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Wow, I can't sing. That's okay. Welcome back. 2020, almost in the books. Oh my goodness, it's crazy. Feels like we just started in this pandemic and you snap your fingers, boom, we're at the end of the year. How about that? 2020, what a great, fun, easy, simple year, right? Oh, it's not even funny. I want to start out by saying I feel for everybody. I'm praying for you all, especially if you have loved ones that have been struggling. God forbid we lost somebody along the way. If you did, I'm thinking about you. I'm praying for you, and individuals that are going through a tough time. I'm sure you know a ton of people who maybe did not get diagnosed with COVID, but are just having a really, really tough time, whether they lost a job or they just are struggling because they cannot see friends or family or parents or grandparents or whatever the situation is. I know that we're all going through a ton in 2020. My hope is that 2021 is a better year for all of you. However, I have to say this. Let's still focus on controlling what we can control. Control what you can control. I think that's a huge takeaway from 2020 and from any year. There's going to be things that happen every single year that we have zero control over. You probably had more Zoom meetings than you ever thought you'd have in your life this year. You probably did a ton of FaceTimes or phone calls that you never thought you would be doing that many of. Whatever the situation is, here's what I want to focus on. The title of the podcast, A Great Year. What do I mean by that? Here's what I mean. I do not ask you often to write this stuff down. However, I believe you clicked on this podcast for a reason, this episode for a reason. I challenge you, I'm throwing the challenge out right now, to write down a list of great things that happened to you, for you, to people around you, etc. in 2020. Write down the list. And don't roll your eyes right now and say, Matt, nothing good happened, because that's just not the case. We can all take good things out of this year. By the way, if you made it through this year, that should be number one on your list. You did it. You made it through 2020, which could arguably be seen as one of the toughest years in the last decades, many decades, some would argue. There's clearly the financial crisis in 2008, etc. We've had many years ago wars and terrible things happening. But in the recent history, this was a pretty rough one. My point is, if we go through a rough year like 2020, like many would say was a difficult one, and you can still come out with things that happened that were great, that's huge. That's game changing. You are ahead of 98% of the people that will just look back on 2020 and say, oh, COVID, you mean when me and my husband started yelling and screaming every day at each other for 6 months, right? There are good things that happen. What happened? Think about that. I really ask you, as soon as you shut this podcast episode off, think about it. Sit down at your desk, at your living room table, wherever you are, and just write down some great things that happened. What went on? Did you get a dog? Did you add a member to the family? Did you have some great FaceTime calls with individuals? Did you meet anybody virtually that you now keep in touch with? What happened that's great? Did you lose a couple pounds? Did you do a couple more push-ups? There are good things that happen. I know it. I can sense it in you. There's many good things that happen. We just need to extract those out and put them on a piece of paper and take those things moving forward into 2021. The next podcast episode, we'll talk about how we're setting up 2021 and getting ourselves ready for the year to come. But for this one, I want to see that list of great things that happened to you, for you, etc. in 2020, because there's a lot of good things we can take away. There's your homework. Thanks for watching. Happy New Year. Oh, 2020. Wow, it's going to go down in the history books. I'm sending you all my love. Be safe, be healthy, try to be happy, and focus on those great things that happen to you in 2020. Please share them on social media. You know where to find me, at Matthew.scoletti, across Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. Look me up. I would love to hear from you and hear some great things and inspiring things that happen for you in 2020. Much love to you all. Peace out of here, and we will see you very soon.